And we are live. Hello, my dear hatchlings. And hello, my dear hatchlings. Happy weekend. Hello, my dear hatchlings. Happy weekend. Let's see here. There we go. Perfect. And now we're just gonna wait a little bit. No, my little babies. I have one of my cats now sleeping in on top of a super cozy fluffy blanket. Really cute. And while we wait, I can see here. Hmm. Mhm. Goodness. Okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, I recently rewatched one of my videos. It was the video with my voice Sue. That was very fun watching. Especially with the eagle when I said like America, hell yeah. And then like I accidentally coughed afterwards. So it was like America, hell yeah. And then like Kai. Well, I can't imitate a cough, you know. It's really hard to make a genuine cough. Great start. My English have not yet risen. A little bit funny since we're talking about Dracula here. Nice. It's nice weather outside. Very nice. I remember when I was streaming in the winter, usually around this time it was pitch black outside. Now it's still sunny outside and the weather is clear, and I'm like, strange stuff. Or as we goth say, like, ew, the sun is out, ew, you know. I need to actually buy my 50 plus sunscreen and sun blocker. Because did you guys know that, well, it's probably super obvious for most people, but sunscreen doesn't protect you from going tan. It just protects you from not getting burned. So that's a big lie. So now I need to find something that makes sure I don't get tanned, because I don't want to get tanned. I want to be pale as a sheet. Okay, let's see here. Well, we have waited long enough. Let's start here. Chapter 14. Mina Hawker's Journal, September 23rd. Jonathan is better after a bad night. I'm so glad that he has plenty of work to do, for that keeps his mind off terrible things, and oh, I rejoice that he's not now weighed down with the responsibilities of his new position. I knew he would be true to himself, and now how proud I am to see my Jonathan rising to the heights of his advancement and keeping pace in all the ways with the duties that come upon him. He will be away all day till late, for he said he could not lunch at home. My household work is done, so I shall take his foreign journal and lock myself up in my room and read it. Goodness. September 24th. I hadn't the heart to write last night. The terrible record of Jonathan's upset me so. Poor dear, how he must have suffered. Whether it been true or only imagination, I wonder if there is any truth in it at all. Did he get his brain fever? And then write all those terrible things? Or had he some cause for it all? I suppose I shall never know, for I dare not open the subject to him. And yet the man we saw yesterday. Ah, my goodness. I do not need the sniffles when I read. God damn it. It's he seems quite certain of him, poor fellow. I suppose it was the funeral upset him and sent his mind back to some train of thoughts. He believed it all himself, I remember. On our wedding day he said, unless some solemn duty comes upon me to go back to the bitter hours, asleep or awake, mad or sane, there seems to be, though it all some threat of continuity. That fearful Count was coming to London. If it should be, and he came to London, with its teeming millions, there may be a solemn duty, and if it comes, we must not sink from it. I shall be prepared. I shall get my typewriter this very hour and begin transcribing. Then we shall be ready for other eyes if required. And if it be wanted, then perhaps, if I am ready, poor Jonathan may not be upset, for I shall speak to him and never let him be troubled or worried with it all. If even Jonathan quite gets over the nervousness, he may want to tell me of it all, and I ask him questions and find out things. And I can ask him questions and find out things, and see how I may comfort him. Mm. Ah, yes. Why in the fluff is this water tightens like iron? Oh, it might be because my lips are a little bit chappy. Oh well. Letter. Van Helsing to Mrs. Hawker. September 24th. Confidence. Dear Madame, I pray you to pardon my writing, in that am a far friend, as that I send to you sad news of Mrs. Lucy Westeras's death. By the kindness of Lord Godalming, I oh good pardon me. I am empowered to read her letters and papers, for I am deeply concerned about certain matters, vitally important. In them I find some letters from you, which show how great friends you were and how you love her. Oh, Madame Mina, by the love, I implore you to help me. It is for others' good, and I ask to redress great wrong, and to lift much and terrible troubles that may be more great than you know. May it be that I see you. You can trust me. I am friend of Dr. John Stewart. Seward, not Stewart. And Lord Godalming. Goodness. The names in this book is quite outstanding. Oh my gosh. My babies. Really? Luckily, my mic doesn't pick up that. But without fail, every single time I start streaming, they decide to be like, now is the great time to go to the leaderboards. Anyhow, let's see here. That was author of Miss Lucy. I must keep it private for the present from all. I should come to Exeter to see you at once if you tell me. I am privileged to come. And where and when, I implore you pardon, madam. I have read your letters to poor Lucy, and know how good you are, and how your husband suffered. So I pray you, if I may be, enlighten him not, at least it may harm, against your pardon and forgive me, Van Helsing. Telegram, Mrs. Hawker to Van Helsing, September 25th. Come today by 10:15. Train if you can catch it. Can you see any time? Can you see any time you call? Wilhelmina Hawker. Ah, right. I forgot that's her full name. Mina Hawker's journal, September 25th. I cannot help feeling terribly excited as the time draws near for the visit of Dr. Van Helsing, for somehow I expect that it will throw some light upon Jonathan's sad experience, and as he attended poor dear Lucy's in her last illness, he can tell me all about her, and that is the reason for his coming. I would feel like it's part of it. It is concerning Lucy and her sleepwalking, and not about Jonathan. Then I shall never know the real truth now. How silly I am. That awful journal gets hold of my imagination and thinks everything with something of its own color. Of course it's about Lucy. The habit came back to the poor dear, and that awful night on the cliff must have made her ill. I had almost forgotten in my own affair how ill she was afterward. She must have told him her sleepwalking adventures on the cliff, and I knew all about it. And now he wanted me to tell him that I know, so that he may understand. I hope I did the right in not saying anything for it to Mrs. Westenra. I should never forgive myself if any act of mine, were it even a negative one, brought harm on poor dear Lucy. I hope, too, dear Van Helsing will not blame me. I have had so much trouble and anxiety of late that I feel I cannot bear more than just at present. I suppose a cry does us all good at times, clears the air as once rain does, at other rains does. Perhaps it was reading the journal yesterday that upset me. And then Jonathan went away this morning to stay away from me a whole day and night, the first time we had been apart since our marriage. I do hope the dear fellow will take care of himself, and that nothing will occur to upset him. It is 2 o'clock, and the doctor will be here soon now. I should say nothing of Jonathan's journal, unless he asked me. I am so glad I have a typewriter on my own journal. Out. I have typewritten out my own journal. Mm. For the second stream later, I need to remind myself of having cold water. Don't get me wrong, lukewarm water is okay, but Not the best. But the best! It's always good to drink water. Stay hydrated, people. Goodness. Okay, let's see here. Where was I? So that in case he asked about Lucy, I shall hand it to him. It will save much questioning later. He has come and gone. Oh, what a strange meeting, and how it all makes my head whirl around. I feel like one in a dream. Can it be all possible, or even a part of it? If I had not read Jonathan's journal first, I should never have accepted even the possibility. Poor, poor dear Jonathan. How he must have suffered. Please, the good God, Arlene may not upset him again. I shall try to save him from it. But it may be even a consolation and a help to him. Terrible thought it be, and awful in its consequences, to know of a certain that his eyes and ears and brain did not deceive him, and that it's all true. It may be that it is, the doubt which haunt him, and when the doubt is removed, no matter which, waking or dreaming, may prove the truth, he will be more satisfied and better able to bear the shock. Dr. Van Helsing must be a good man as well as a clever one, if he is Arthur's friend and Dr. Seward's. And if they brought him all the way from Holland to look after Lucy, I feel from having seen him that he is good and kind, and of noble nature. When he comes tomorrow, I shall ask him about Jonathan, and then, please God, all this sorrow and anxiety oh my God, anxiety and ah, why why can I not say that word now? Anxiety. Nah, that sounds wrong. Anxiety, anxiety. English, why you do this to me? Let's just say anxiety. May lead to a good end. I used to think I would like to practice interviewing Jonathan's friend on the Exeter's News. Told him that the memory is everything in such work, and you must be able to put down exactly almost every word spoken, even if you have to refine some of it afterwards. Here was the raw interview, and I shall try to record it verbatim. Yes. It was 2:30 when the knock came. I took my courage and adieux mains and waited. In a few minutes Mary opened the door and announced Dr. Van Helsing. I rose and bowed, and he came towards me, a man of medium weight, strong build, with his shoulders set back over a broad, deep chest and neck well balanced on the trunk of the head, as the head is on the neck. The poise of the head struck me at once as one sec, indicative of thought and power. The head is noble, well-sized, broad and large behind the ears. The face, clean-shaved, shows a hard, square chin, a large, resolved, mobile mouth, a good-sized nose, rather straight, but with quick, sensitive nostrils. This description is hilarious. My apologies, I get distracted. that seems to broaden as the big bushy browns come down at the mouth tightens, and the mouth tightens. The forehead is broad and fine, rising at first almost straight and then sloping back above two buns or ridges wide apart. Such a forehead and the reddish hair cannot possibly tumble over it, but falls naturally back and to the sides. Big dark blue eyes are set widely apart and are quick and tender or stern with the man's mood, and he says, Mrs. Hawkers, is it not? I bow assent. Red hair? Huh, so in this story he is a ginger. I always assumed that Van Helsing had black hair. Huh. Wait a minute. Then why did they not star a ginger in the Van Helsing one? That would be accurate to the book. Huh, interesting. Well, I learn something new every day. Also, my cat is really distracting. She's entered her bun form, sleeping on the blanket. Very adorable. Oh goodness. Let's see here. That was Miss Mina Maria. Again, I assented. It is Mina Murray, and I came to see that was friend of the poor dear child Lucy Westerner, Madame Mina. It is on account of the dead that I come. Sir, I said, you could have no better claim on me than that you were a friend and helper of Lucy Westenra. And I held out my hand, and he took it and said tenderly, Oh, Madame Mina, I know that the friend of the poor little girl must be good, but I had yet to learn. He finished his speech with a courtly bow. I asked him what it was that he wanted to see me about, and he at once began. I have read your letters to Miss Lucy, forgive me, but I had to begin to inquire somewhere, and there was none to ask. I know that you were with her at Whitby. She sometimes kept a diary. You need not look surprised, Madame Mina. It was begun after you had left, and was a imitation of you, and in that diary she traced by inference certain things to a sleepwalking, in which she puts down that you saved her in great perplexity. Then I come to you and ask you out of your so much kindness to tell me all of it in that you can remember. Mm. All right. I can tell you, I think, Dr. Van Helsing, all about it. And then you have a good memory for facts, for details. It is, it blah, 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 blah. It is not always so with young ladies. No, doctor, but I wrote it all down at the time. I can show it to you if you want, like. Oh, Madame Mina, I will be grateful. You will do me much favor. I could not resist the temptation of mystifying him a bit. I suppose it is some taste of the original apple that remains still in our mouth. So I handed him the shorthand diary. He took it with a graceful bow and said, May I read it? If you wish, I answered, as demurely as I could. He opened it, and for an instant his face fell. Then he stood up and bowed. Hmm? Oh no. Oh no, my baby. Oh, yummy. Oh. Excuse me, we're having a cat delay here. You okay, yummy? Oof. BRB, one sec. Yes. Well, you seem fine. Oh, sorry. Accidentally bumped your buttocks. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Let's see here. There we go. Oh, yummy. What you do? Sorry, my cat is a little bit distracting, aren't you? Okay, let's see here. Now more interruption, okay? Okay, fine. One last head pat. There you go. Now go and bask in the sun like a normal cat. I'll wet your dark coated so you probably would bake in the sun right now. Also, my shortest or tiniest cat, I just have to mention this. So, I have a little, like, sort of like a little square cute table with like a little bit of foam on it so the cats can sleep on it instead of crowding on my bed when I'm trying to sleep. Futile effort for the people that knows, with cats. And I have a little chunky seal on the side, and my little cat was laying beside it, and it was so adorable. It was like a tiny little seal beside it. Very cute. Anyhow, let's continue. Oh, you so clever woman, he said. I knew long that Mr. Jonathan was a man of much thankfulness. But see, his wives have all the good things. And will you not so much honor me and so help me as to read it for me? At last I know not the shorthand. By this time, my little joke was over and I almost ashamed. So I took the typewriter copy from my work basket and handed it to him. Forgive me, I said. I could not help it, but I had been thinking that it was of dear Lucy that you wished to ask, and so that you might not have time to wait on not on my account. But because I know your time must be precious, and I have written it out on a typewriter for you. He took it, and his eyes glistered. You are so good, he said, and may I read it now? I may want to ask you some things when I have read. By all means, I said, read it all over whilst I order lunch, and then you can ask me questions whilst we eat. He bowed and settled himself in a chair with his back to the light, and became so absorbed in the papers while I went to see after the lunch, chiefly in order that he might not be disturbed. Then I came back and found him walking hurriedly up and down the room, his face all ablaze with excitement. He rushed up to me and took me by both hands. Oh, Madame Mina, he said, how can I say that I own what I own to you? This paper is as sunshine. It opens the gate to me. I'm dazed, I'm dazzled with so much light, and yet clouds rolls in behind the light every time. But that you do not, cannot comprehend. But oh, I am grateful to you, you so clever woman. Madame, he said, it is very solemnly, even if Abraham Van Helsing can do anything for you or yours, I truly will let you. I trust you will let me know. It will be a pleasure and delight if I may serve you as a friend, but all I have ever learned, all I can ever do, shall be for you and those you love. There are darkness in life, and there are lights. You are one of the lights. You will have a happy life and a good life, and your husband will be blessed in you. But, doctor, you praise me too much. You do not know me. Not know you. I, who am I old and who have studied all my life, men and women. I who have made my specialty the brain and all that belongs to him and all that follows from him. I have read your diary, and you have so goodly written for me, and which brethren are out trust in every line. I, who have read your so sweet letters to poor Lucy, of your marriage and your trust, not know you, oh Madame Mina, good woman, tell all their lives, and by day and by hour and by minute, such things the angels can read. And, oh, sorry, it was angels. That angels can read. And we men who wish to know have in us something of angel's eye. Your husband is noble nature, and you are noble too. For you trust, and trust cannot be where there is mean nature. And your husband, tell me of him. Is he quite well? Is all that fever gone? And is he strong and hearty? Distraction. A very tiny, fuzzy distraction. Yes. And a very bitey distraction. Little witch queen. Are you gonna be my little reading companion when we read, huh? This is like the fourth time you decide to lay here. No, she's literally laying because I'm sitting cross-eyed because I have a little footrest. So I'm sitting cross-legged, and she have her little like front and the front paws like arch over my like legs. So she like looking up at me and be like, "Oh, this is like a story time." It's kind of like, yeah, it's adorable. Anyhow, let's continue. I saw here an opening and asked him about Jonathan. So I said, he was almost recovered, but he has been greatly upset by Mr. Hawkins' death. He interrupted. Oh yes, I know. I know. I have read your two last letters. I went on. I suppose I suppose this upsets him, for when we were in town on Thursday last, he had a sort of shock. A shock? And after brain fever so soon? That is not good. What kind of shock was it? He brought. He thought he saw someone who recalled something terrible, something which led to his brain fever. And here the whole thing seems to overwhelm me in a rush. The pity of Jonathan, the horror which he experienced, the whole fearful mystery of his diary, and the fear that has been brooding over me ever since. It all came in a tumult. I suppose I was hysterical, for I threw myself on my knees and held my hands up to him, and implored him to make my husband well again. He took my hands and raised me up, and made me sit on the sofa and sat by me. He held my hands in his and said to me with oh such infinity sweetness, "My life is a barren and lonely one, and so full of work that I have not had much time for friendship. But since I have been summoned here by my friend John Stewart, I did it again. I said Stewart, John Seward. I have known so many good people and seen such nobility that I felt more than ever that it has grown with my advancing years. The loneliness of my life. Believe me, then, that I come here full of respect for you, and you have given me hope. Hope not in what I'm seeking of, but that there are good women still left to make life happy, good women whose lives whose truths may make good lessons for the children that are to be. I am glad that I may here be of some use to you. For if your husband suffer, he suffer with the range of my study and experience. I promise you that I will gladly do all for him that I can, all to make his life strong and manly, and your life a happy one. Now you must eat. You are over wronged and perhaps over anxious. Husband Jonathan would not like to see you so pale, and what he likes not wear he love. It is not to his good. Therefore, for his sake, you must eat and smile. You have told me about Lucy, and so now we shall not speak of it. Lest it distress, I shall stay in Exeter tonight, for I want to think much over what you have told me, and when I have thought I'll ask you questions, if I may. And then too you will tell me of husband Jonathan's trouble so far as you can. But not yet, you must eat now, afterwards you shall tell me all. After lunch, we went back to the drawing room, and he said to me, "And now tell me all about him." When it came to speaking to this great learning man, I began to fear that he would think me a weak fool and Jonathan a madman. That journal is all so strange, and I hesitated to go on, but he was so sweet and kind, and he had promised to help. And I trusted him, so I said, Dr. Van Helsing, what I have to tell you is so queer that you must not laugh at me or at my husband. I have been since yesterday in a sort of fever of doubt. You must be kind to me, and not think me foolish that I have even half believed some very strange things. He reassured me by his manners as well as his words when he said, Oh, my dear, if only you know how strange is the matter regarding which I am here. It is you who would laugh. I have learned not think little of any of one's belief, no matter how strange it may be. I have tried to keep an open mind, and it is not the ordinary things of life that could lose it, but the stranger things, the extraordinary things, the things that make one doubt if they be mad or sane. Thank you. Thank you 1,000 times. You have taken a weight off my mind. If you will let me, I shall give you a paper to read. It is long, but I have typewritten it out. It will tell you my trouble and Jonathan's. It is the copy of his journal when abroad, and all that have happened. I dare not say anything of it. You will read for yourself and judge. And then, when I see you, perhaps you will be very kind and tell me what you think. I promise, he said, as I gave him the papers. I shall in the morning, as soon as I can, come to see you and your husband, if I may. Jonathan will be here 11:30, and you must come to lunch with us and see him then. You could catch the quick 3:34 train. Ah, goodness, the sniffles. Which will leave you to Paddington before 8. He was surprised by my knowledge of the trains offhand, but he does not know that I have made up all the trains to and from Exeter, so that I may help Jonathan in case he is in a hurry. So he took the papers with him and went away, and I sit here thinking that I don't know what. Letters by hand. Van Helsing to Mr. Hawkers. September 26th. Oh wait, September 25th. 6 o'clock. Welcome back at. Dear Madame Mina, I have read oh goodness. Oof. I have read your husband's so wonderful diary. You may sleep without doubt. Strange and terrible as it is true. I will pledge my life on it. It may be worse for others, but for him and you there is no dread. He's a noble fella. Oh, how off, Pointer? How you doing? Welcome in. And let me tell you from experience of men that one who would not be would the one who would do as he did in going down that wall and that room, and going a second time is not one to be injured in permanency by a shock. His brain and his heart are all right. This I swear, before I have even seen him. So be at rest. I shall have much to ask him of other things. I am blessed that today I come to see you, for I have learned all at once so much, and again I am dazzled, dazzled more than ever, and I must think. Yours, the most faithful, Abraham Van Helsing. Yeah, no worries. Stay as long as you like. Letter, Mrs. Hawkers to Van Helsing. September 26th, 6:30 p.m. My dear Dr. Van Helsing, 1,000 thanks for your kind letter, which had taken a great weight off my mind, and yet, if it is true, what terrible things are there in the world, and what awful thing if a man, that monster, be really in London? I fear to think. I have this moment, whilst writing, had a wire from Jonathan saying that he leaves by 6:25 tonight from Lunchestone, and will be here at 10:18, so that I shall have no fear tonight. Will you, therefore, instead of lunching with us, please come to breakfast at 8 o'clock? If this be not too early for you. You can get away, if you are in a hurry, by the 10:30 train, which will be you to Paddington by 2:35. Do not answer this, as I shall take it that, if not, if I do not hear, you will come to breakfast. Believe me, your faithful and grateful friend, Mina Hawker. Jonathan Hawker's Journal, September 26th. I thought never to write in this diary again, but the time has come. When I came home last night, Mina had supper ready, and when we had supper, she told me of Van Helsing's visit, and of her having given him the two diaries copied out, and of how anxious she has been about me. She showed me in the doctor's letter that all I wrote down was true. It seems to have made a new man of me. It was the doubt as the reality of the whole thing had knocked me over. I felt imprompt and in the dark the distressful, but now that I know, I am not afraid, even of the Count. He has succeeded after all, then in his design in getting to London. That is what I saw. He had got younger, and how Van Helsing is the man to unmask him and hunt him out. If he is anything like what Mina says. We sat late, talked it over. Mina is dressing, and I shall call at the hotel in a few minutes to bring him over. He was, I think, surprised to see me when I came into the room where he was. I introduced myself. He took me by the shoulder, turned my face around by the light, and said, after a sharp scrutiny, "But Madame Mina told me you were ill, and that you had a shock." It was so funny to hear my wife called Madame Mina by this kindly, strong-faced old man. I smiled and said, "I was ill. I have had a shock, but you have cured me already." "And how?" "By your letters to Mina last night. I was in doubt, and then everything took a hue of unreality, and I did not know what to trust, even the evidence of my own sense. Not knowing what to trust, I did not know what to do, and so had only to keep on working in what had hitherto been the groove of my life. The groove eased to avail me, and I mistrusted myself, doctor. You don't know what it is to doubt everything, even yourself. No, you don't. You couldn't with eyebrows like yours." With eyebrows like yours. Oh. Yeah, one sec. Uh, uh, this book is quite funny. I mean, like back then it was probably like, that was funny. I wonder what kind of humor was popular way back in the day. Like when this book came out, which was like in the before the 19th century. Hmm. But sadly, that's something that's lost in time because even that stuff usually just passes through mouth to mouth, you know. But luckily, humor always exists in any era. It just changes. Okay, let's see where we are. Hmm. Okay, eyebrows like yours. Okay. He seemed pleased and laughed as he said, "So, you're a. Oh, dear Lord. So, you're a socionomist. He learned more here with each hour. I am not. I am with much pleasure coming to you to breakfast, and oh, sir, you will pardon praises from an old man. But you are blessed in your wife. I would listen to him go on praising Mina for a day, so I simply nodded and stood silent. She is one of God's women, fashioned by his own hand, to show us men with other women that there is heaven where we can enter, and that its light can be here on earth, so true, so sweet, so noble, so little a egotist. Ah, egoist. Yeah, definitely. And that, let me tell you, is much in the age. So skeptical and selfish. And you, sir, I have read all the letters to poor Miss Lucy, and some of them speak of you. So I know you sense some days from the knowing of others. But I have seen your true self since last night. You give me your hand, will you not? And let us be friends for all our lives. We shook hands, and he was so earnest and kind that it made me quite choky. Oh, it's so sweet. Look how simple they make friends. We're like Van Helsing's like, ah, you have an excellent mind. You're very great to be around, basically. And then just like, friendship, mate. Look, guys, that's how simple it is to make a friend. If you're like, ah, yes, I like this person. They seem quite nice. Let's be friends. Ah, that's a very short book. The Art of Making a Friend. I don't know. I feel like in today's age, everything is overly complicated. Back then, you had a subtle charm, like when you're trying to court someone, being like, "Oh, I do like your shoes." Well, obviously, your fashion would be not. Ugh, and now I'm speaking in old English. And compared to today, the dating is a speed run. It's the best thing I can think about. Back then it was slow paced, today's a speed run. And back then it was probably way easier to make friends because they didn't have the internet as a distraction because it didn't exist yet. There, you socialized, gossiped, and stuff like that. Obviously, it wasn't easy making friends back then either because it was a lot about social norms, how to properly behave, Sure, today's era is more free when it comes to you can do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't hurt other people, obviously. And you don't have the like, well, to be fair, now when I think about it, there are some parts of that eras that still exists today. For example, if you do something outside of society norms, people will judge you, they will ostracize you, but it's not as bad as it was back then, where you would could literally lose more than, just your friends of circles. Oh yeah, indeed. And also back then, gossip was like one of the main entertainment among women. But to be fair, today women have way more tools of being more wicked. But then again, that's also for men too. It's not like men don't like to gossip. I am pretty sure that deep down men like to gossip a little bit too. But they just don't say it. Besides, it's a difference between drama and gossip. Drama, people drag you into it. Gossip, it's like, oh, this is some UCT right there. And I, for one, sometimes like to hear a little bit of UCT, be like, ooh, spill the tea. Sometimes it's a little bit funny. Wait, why you, what you doing? Yeah, what you doing, cat? You're being weird. But yeah, so that's why it's really nice to just. That's what I'm wanting to do with my streams. Not talking about drama, just existing. Reading books on Fridays. Who knows? Still don't know which book I'm gonna read after this, but obviously it's gonna be a little bit. But I'm sure I can think of a book to read after this. I just gotta make sure they are not copyrighted. But to be fair, I do believe most of Lovecraft's books nowadays are public domain. What are you doing? Stop digging into my. You little weirdo. My little cat jumped up again and she decided to like make biscuits and drag down my dress. She like, yes, perfect confidence. Okay, let's continue here. Where was I? A little bit distracted. And no, like I'm literally sitting in a very long dress because the fabric is so comfortable. I just realized this dress, according to 19th century, would obviously be scandalous because most dresses these days have cleavage. Yes, believe it or not. And this one is not full, like covered with the arms, cover the arms. So I'm showing way more skin that would be appropriate for the 19th century. But then again, the fashion back then was ridiculous for women. Corsets that had to be like basically like, well, that might have been 18th century with corsets. Or maybe it was the end of the era of corsets, where you basically had to like not breathe. Sure, the little. I know they were one time. I think it was the Renaissance. Yeah. Oh, definitely. I would probably be thrown in jail or even executed for my like the way I would dress. They would be like, "Oh my God, scandalous." Or they would think I would be like a woman of the streets or whatever they called it back then. But honestly, I did not like. I would definitely be the one one person odd out because like I would not willingly wear a corset. Like a corset is obviously some of them might have given like stability, but like ugh, God no. I rather keep my organs intact and not having them squished. I never understood fashion back then, why women subdued themselves to such horror. It's still funny that the heels were invented by a man because they didn't want to like dirty like themselves when they walked the streets. So yeah. So technically high heels and stuff like that were meant for men. But the women like, nah, we like them better. I do not wear high heels. I would look like a Bambi, wobbly legs, you know. So that's why I don't wear high heels. For the wobbly part, and I would probably like somehow manage to hurt myself with either falling down or like accidentally like, breaking my leg or something. I don't know. Me in high heels are like, they look pretty, but I'm not gonna wear them. Anyhow, let's continue before rambling on. Okay, let's see here. Did I scroll too much? Okay, okay, now. And now he said, may I ask you for some help? I have a great task to do, and at the beginning it is to know. You may, you, you can help me here. You can tell me what went before you going to Transylvania. Oh, jeez. Oh, oh, that scared the shit out of me. Whew, what the fluff. How are people? Welcome in Cassiopeia and Party of Four. Yeah, I need to change soundboard for that. Oh, that made me jump in my chair. Okay, let's see here. Later on, I may ask more help, and of a difficult kind. But at first, this will do. Look here, sir, I said. Does what you have to do concern the Count? It does, he said solemnly. Then I am with you heart and soul. As you go by the 10:30 train, you will have no time to read them, but I shall get the bundle of paper. You can take them with you and read them in the train. After breakfast, I saw him to the station, where we were apart. He said, "Perhaps you will come to town if I send for you, and take Madame Mina too. We shall both come when you will," I said. I had got him the morning papers and the London papers of the previous night, and while we were talking at the carriage window, awaiting for the train to start, he was turning them over. His eyes suddenly seemed to catch something in one of them. The Westminster's Castell. I knew it by the color, and he grew quite white. He read something intently, groaning to himself. Mein Gott, so soon, so soon. I don't think he remembered me at the moment. Just then the whistle blew, and the train moved off. This recalled him to himself, and he leaned out the window, and waved his hand and called out, "Love to Madame Mina. I shall write as soon as ever I can." Oop. Dr. Stewart's Diary, September 26. Oh, thank you to Cassiopeia. for the following. Oh, that's so sweet of you. And also, why did I tab out? Goodness. Hello. Truly, there is no such thing uh, as finality. Not a week since I said finish, and yet here I am starting fresh again, or rather going on with the record. Record. Until this afternoon, I had no cause to think of what it's done. Renfield had become, to all intent, as sane as he ever was. He was already well ahead uh, with his fly business, and he had just started in the spider line also, and he had not been of any trouble to me. I had a letter from Arthur, writing on Sunday, and from it I gathered that he is bearing up wonderfully well. Quincy Morris is with him, and is much of a help, for he himself is a bubbling well of good spirits. Quincy wrote to me a line too, and from him I bear that Arthur is beginning to recovering something of his old. Oh goodness. Buoyancy. So, as to them, all my mind is at rest. As for myself, I was settling down to my work with enthusiasm, which I used to have for it, so that I might fairly have said that the wound which poor Lucy left on me has become cicatrice. Oh my gosh, the words. Cicatriced. Everything is, however, now reopened, and what to be the end God only knows. I have no idea that Van Helsing thinks he knows, too, but he will only let out enough at a time to whet curiosity. He went to Exeter yesterday and stayed there all night. Today he came back, almost bounded into the room at about 5:30 o'clock, and thrust last night's Westminster Gazette into my hands. What do you think of that? He asked as he stood back and folded his arm. I looked up over the paper, for I really did not know what he meant. But he took it from me and pointed out the parchment about children being decoyed away at Hampstead. It did not convey much to me until I reached a passage where it scrubbed small punctured wounds on the throat. An idea struck me, and I looked up. Well, he said, it is like poor Lucy. And what do you make of it? Simply that there is some cause in common. Whenever it was that injury, that the injured her was injured them. I did not quite understand his answer. That is true indirectly, but not directly. How how do you mean, Professor? I asked. I was a little inclined to take his seriously lightly, for after all, 4 days of our rest and freedom from burning, harrowing anxiety does help to restore one's spirit. But when I saw his face, it sobered me never. Even in the midst of our despair about poor Lucy, had he looked so more stern. Tell me, I said. I can hazard no opinion. I do not know what to think, and I have no data on which to follow a conjecture. Do you mean to tell me, friend John, that you have no suspicion as to what poor Lucy died of? Not after all the hints given, not only by events, but by me. The nervous frustration followed a great loss of waste of blood. And how was the blood lost or wasted? I shook my head. He stepped over and sat down beside me and went over. You're a clever man, friend John. You reason well, and your wit is bold, but you are too prejudged. Also, cat, let me adjust my leg a bit. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done. Okay. You did not like that I adjusted me myself? Okay, let's see here. You do, you do not let your eyes see nor your ears hear, and that which is outside your daily life is not of account to you. Do you not think that there are things which you cannot understand, and yet which are that some people see things that others cannot? But there are things old and new which must not be contemplated by men's eyes because they know, or think they know, some things which other men have told them. Ah, it is the fault of our science that is want to explain all, and if it explains not, then it says there is nothing to explain. But yet we see around us every day the growth of new beliefs, which think themselves new, and which are yet but the old, which pretend to be young, like the fine ladies at the opera. I suppose now, do you not believe in the corporal transference, no? Nor in materialization, no? Nor in astral bodies, no? Nor in the reading of thoughts, no? Nor in hypnotism. Yes, I said. Carrocott has proven that pretty well. He smiled as he went on. Then you're satisfied as to it, yes? And of course, then you understand how it acts and can follow the mind of the great Carrocott. At last, he is no more, into the very soul of the patient that he influenced, no? Then, friend John, am I to take it that you simply accept fact and are satisfied to let from premise to conclusions be blank, no? Then tell me, for I'm a student of the brain who can accept hypnotism and reject the thought reading. Let me tell you, my friend, that there are things done today in electrical science which would have been deemed unholy by the very man who discovered electricity, who would himself not so long before being burned as wizards. There are always mysteries in life. Why was it that... Oh dear Lord. Sorry, it's just... It's a word, alright. Let me just read it. Why was it that Methuselah lived 900 years and old Parr 169, and yet poor Lucy, with 4 months' blood in her poor veins, could not live even a day? For, had she lived one more day, we could have saved her. Do you know all the mysteries of life and death? Do you know the altogether of comparative anatomy? And can you say therefore the quality of brute that brutes are in some men and not in others? Can you tell me why, when other spiders die small and soon, that one great spider lived for centuries in towns of the old Spanish church and grew till one descending he could drink the oil of the church lamps? Can you tell me why in the Pampas a and elsewhere, there are bats that come out in the night and open the veins of cattle and horses and suck dry their veins. How in some islands of the Western Sea there are bats which hang on the trees all day, and those who have seen described as giant nuts or pods. And that when the sailors slept on the deck because that it is hot, flit down on them, and then in the morning were found dead men, white as when Miss Lucy, white as even Miss Lucy was. Good God, Professor, I said, starting up. Do you mean to tell me that Lucy was bitten by such a bat? Oh, they're getting somewhere. They are getting somewhere. And that such a thing is here in London, right? And that such a thing is here in London in the 19th century. They make it sound like it. Oh, yeah. He waved his hand for silence and went on. Can you tell me why the tortoise lived more long than the generation of men? Why the elephants go on and on until he have seen dynasties? And why the parrot never die only of bite of cat or dog or other complaint? Can you tell me why men believe in all ages and places that were men and women who cannot die? We all know because science has vouched for the fact, and there have been toads shut up in the rocks for thousands of years, shut in one so small hole that only holes hold him since the young of the world. Can you tell me how the Indian fakir can make himself to die and have been buried, and his grave sealed and corn sowed on it, and corn reaped and then cut and sowed and reaped and cut again, and then men come and take away the unbroken seal, and there lies the Indian fakir, not dead, but but that rise up and walk amongst them as before. Here I interrupt him. I was getting bewildered. He's so crowded on my mind in his list of nature's eccentrics and impossibilities that my imagination was getting fired. I had a dim idea that he was teaching me some lesson, as long ago he used to do in his studies at Amsterdam. But he used them to tell me the thing so that I could have the object of thought in mind all the time. But now I was without his help, yet I wanted to follow him, so I said, Professor, let's let me be your pet student again. Tell me the thesis so that I may apply your knowledge as you may go on. At present I am going in my mind from point to point as a madman, and not a sane one. Follows an idea. I feel like a novice lumbering through a bog in the mist, jumping from one tussock to another in the mere blind effort to move on without knowing where I am going. That is a good image, he said. Well, I shall tell you, my thesis is this. I want you to believe. Mhm. To believe what? To believe in things that you cannot. Let me illustrate. I heard once of an American who so defined fate that faculty which enable us to believe things which we now which we know to be untrue. For one, goodness, for one, I follow that man. He meant that we shall have an open mind and not let a little bit of truth check the rush of the big truth, like a small rock does to a railroad truck. We get the small truth first, good. We kept him and we value him, but all the same, we must not let him think himself all the truth in the universe. Then you want me to not let some previous convictions ins- ensure the receptive of my mind with regard to some strange matters, to read your lessons right? Ah, you are my favorite pupil still. It is worth to teach. It's worth to teach you. Now that you are willing to understand, you have taken the first step to understand. You think, then, that those so small holes in the children's throats are made by the same that made the holes in Miss Lucy's, I suppose. Stood up and said solemnly, then you're wrong. Oh, would it be worse so, but at last, no, it is worse, far, far worse. In God's name, Professor Van Helsing, what do you mean? I cry. He threw himself with a despairing gesture into the chair, placed his elbows on the table, covering his face with his hand as he spoke. They were made by Miss Lucy. Dun dun dun! And now it's chapter 15. I just gonna go BRB and put my oven on, so one sec. Yeah, it definitely does. And I'm gonna read. Well, technically, it's only a half hour until I gotta stop, but I'm gonna add an extra half hour. So my break is gonna be a little bit short this time. So, wait, that means I was fast at reading today. Because normally it takes an hour to read, goddamn. I have ascended to speed reading. Okay. Chapter 15. Dr. Seward's diary continue. For a while sheer angst mastered me. It was as if he had, during her life, struck Lucy on her face. I smote the table hard and rose up as I said to him, Dr. Van Helsing, are you mad? He raised his head and looked at me, and somehow the tenderness of his face calmed me at once. Would I were, he said, madness were easy to bear compared with the truth like this. Oh, my friend, why, think you, did I go so far round? Why take so long to tell a simple thing? Was it because I hate you and have hated you all my life? Was it because I wished to give you pain? Was it that I wanted now, so late, revenge for that time when you saved my life? And from a fearful death? Ah, no, forgive me, said I. He went on, my friend. It was because I wished to be gentle in the breaking to you, for I know you have loved that so sweet lady, but even yet I do not expect you to believe. It is so hard to accept at once any abstract truth that we may doubt such to be possible when we have always believed the know of it. It is more hard still to accept so sad a concrete truth, and of such as one as Miss Lucy. Tonight I go to prove it. Dare you come with me? This staggered me. A man does not like to prove such a truth. Baron expected from the category jealousy, and prove the very truth that he most abhorred. He saw my hesitation and spoke. The logic is simple, no madman's logic. This time, jumping from tussock to tussock in a misty bog. If it's not the truth, then proof will be relief. At worst, it will not harm. If it is be true, there is the dread. Yet every dread should be helped my cause, for in some need of relief. Come, I tell you what I propose. First, that we go off now and see that child in the hospital, Dr. Vincent, of the North Hospital, where the papers say the child is a friend of mine, and I think of yours since you were in a class at Amsterdam. He will not. He will let two scientists see his case, if he will not let two friends. I shall tell him nothing, but only that we wish to learn, and then he took a key from his pocket and held it up. And we spend the night, you and I, in the churchyard where Lucy lies. This is the key that locks the tomb. I had it from the coffin maid to give to Arthur. My heart sank with me, for I felt that there was one fearful ordeal before us. I could do nothing, however, so I plucked up what heart I could and said that we had better hasten, as the afternoon was passing. We found the child awake. It had had a sleep and taken some food, and altogether was doing as well. Dr. Vincent took the bandage off its throat and showed us the punctures. There was no mistake in the similarities to those which had been on Lucy's throat. They were smaller and the edges looked fresher. That was all. We asked Vincent to what he attributed them, and he replied that it must have been a bite of some animal, perhaps a rat. But for his own part, he was inclined to think it was some sort of bat, which are so numerous on the northern heights of London. Out of so many harmless ones, he said, there is maybe some wild specimen of the south of a more malignant species. Some sailors may have brought one home, and it managed to escape, or even from the Songolian gardens. A young one may have gotten loose, or one be bred there from a vampire. The things do occur, you know. Only 10 days ago, a wolf got out and was, I believe, traced up in this direction. For a week after, the children were playing around but Red Riding Hood on the heath in every alley in the place until this bloofer lady scare came along. Since then, it has been quite a gala time with them. Even this poor little Mitte, when he woke up today, asked the nurse if he may go away. When she asked him why he wanted to go, he asked to play with the bloofer lady. I hoped, said Van Helsing, that when you are sending the children home, you will caution its parents to keep strict watch over it. These fantasies to stray are most dangerous, and if the child were to remain out another night, it would probably be fatal. But in any case, I suppose you will not let it away from some days. Certainly not. Not for a week at least, longer if the wound is not healed. Our visit to the hospital took more time than we had reckoned on, and the sun had dipped before we came out. When Van Helsing saw how dark it was, he said, "There is no hurry. It is more late than I thought. Come, let us seek somewhere we may eat, and then we shall get on our way." We dined at Jack Straw's castle along with a little crowd of bicyclists and others who were generally noisy. About 10 o'clock we started from the inn. It was then very dark, and the shadowed lamps made the darkness greater. When we were at once outside their individual radius. The professor had evidently noted the road we were going on, for he went on unhesitantly. But as for me, I was in a quite mix-up as to locally. As we went further, we met fewer and fewer people, till last were somewhat surprised when we met even the patrol of the horse police going their usual suburban round. At last we reached the wall of the churchyard, which we climbed over with some little difficulty, for it was very dark and the whole place seemed so strange to us. We found the Westenra tomb. The professor took the key, opened and creaked the door, standing back politely, but quite unconsciously motioned me to precede him. There was a delicious irony in the offer, in the curtlines of giving preference on such a ghastly occasion. My companion followed me quickly and cautiously drew the door to. After carefully ascertaining that the lock was a falling and not a spring one, in the later case we could have been in a bad pit. Then he fumbled in his bag, and taking out a matchbox and a piece of candle, proceeded to make a light the tomb in the daytime, and when wreathed with fresh flowers, and looked grim and gruesome enough. But now, some days afterward, when the flowers hung slank and dead, the whites turning to rust and their greens to brown, when the spider and beetle had resumed their uh, accustomed domains, when the time-discolored stone and dust-encrusted mortar, and the rusty dank iron and tarnished brass, and the clouded silver plating gave back the feeble glimmer of a candle, and the effect was more miserable than sordid than it could have been imagined. It conveyed irresistible the idea of life. Animal life was not the only thing which was passed away. Van Helsing went about his work systematically, holding his candle so that they could read the coffin plates, and so holding in the sperm dropping in the white patches, which congealed as they touched the metal. He made assurance of Lucy's coffin, another search in his big bag, and I took out a turn screw. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "To open the coffin, you shall yet be convinced." Straight away he began taking out the screws and finally lifting off the lid, showing the casing of lead beneath. The sight was almost too much for me. Seems to be as much of affront of the dead as it would have been to have stripped off her clothing in her sleep whilst living. Actually, actually took a hold of his hand to stop him. He only said, "You shall see," and again fumbling in his bag and took out a tiny fret saw. Striking the turn screw through the lead, which shift downward stab. With many winds, he made a small hole, which was, however, big enough to admit the point of a saw. I had expected a rush of gas from the weak old corpse. We doctors who had to study our dangers have to become accustomed to such things, and I drew back towards the door, but the professor never stopped for a moment. He soared down a couple of feet alongside one side of the lead coffin, and then across, and then down the other side. Taking the edges of the loose flang, he bent it backwards towards the foot of the coffin, and holding up the candle into the apprentice, motioned me to look. Side note here, that's one strong saw if the coffin is made out of lead. That's metal. But then again, what do I know? I guess they were built different back then. Let's see. I drew near and looked. The coffin was empty. It was certainly a surprise to me, and gave me a considerable shock, but Van Helsing was unmoved. He was now more sure than ever of his ground, so he embodiment so emboldened to proceed in his task. "Are you satisfied now, friend John?" he asked. I felt all the dodged argumentativeness of my nature awaken within me as I answered him. "I'm satisfied that Lucy's body is not in that coffin, but that only proves one thing." "And what is that, friend John?" "That it is not here, and not there." "That is a good logic," he said, "so far as it goes. But how can you account for it not being there?" "Perhaps a body snatcher," I suggest. "Some of the Undertaker's people may have stolen it." I feel that I was speaking folly, and yet it was the only real cause which I could suggest. The professor sighed. "Ah, well," he said, "must have more proof. Come with me." He put on the coffin lid again, gathered up all his things and placed them in the bag, blew out out the light, and placed the candle uh, also in the bag. We opened the door and went out. Behind us, he closed the door and locked it. He handed me the key, saying, "Will you keep it?" "You had better be assured." I laughed. It was not a very cheerful laugh, I am bound to say, as I motioned him to keep it. "A key is nothing," I said. "There are many duplicates, and anyhow, it is not difficult to pick a lock of this kind." He said nothing, but the key in his pocket. Then he told me to watch at one side of the churchyard while he would watch the other. I took up my place behind a yew tree, and I saw his dark figure move until the intervening headstone and tree hid him from my sight. It was a lone vigil. Just after I had taken my place, I heard a distant clock strike 12, and in time came 1 and 2. I was chilled and unnerved, and angry with Professor for taking me on such an errand, and with myself for coming. I was too cold and too sleepy to keenly observed, and not sleepy enough to betray my trust, but altogether I had a dreary, miserable time. Suddenly, as I turned around, I thought I saw something like a white streak moving between two dark yarn trees at the side of the churchyard farthest from the tomb. At the same time, a dark mass moved from the professor's side of the ground and hurriedly went towards it. Then then I moved too, but I had to go around headstones and rallied off tombs, and I stumbled over graves. The sky was overcast and somewhat far off an early cuckoo, and a little ways off beyond a little line of scattered juniper trees, which marked the pathway to the church. A white, dim figure flitted in the direction of the tomb. The tomb itself was hidden by trees, and I could not see where the figure had disappeared. I heard a rustle of actual movement where I had first seen the white figure, and coming over found the professor holding his arm, a tiny child. When he saw me, he held it out to me and said, "Are you satisfied now?" "No," I said, in a way that I felt was aggressive. "Do you not see the child?" "Yes, it is a child." "But who brought it here? And is it wounded?" "We shall see," said the professor. With one impulse, we took our way out of the churchyard and carried the sleeping child. When we had got some little distance away, went into a clump of trees and struck a match, and looked at the child's throat. It was without a scratch or scar of any kind. "Was I right?" I asked triumphantly. "We were just in time," said the professor thankfully, "and had now to decide what we were to do with the child, and so consulted about it. If we were to take it to the police station, we could have to give some account of our movements during the night. At least we should have had to make some statements as to how we had come to find the child. So we find, so we find, so finally we decided that we would have taken it to Heath, and when we heard a policeman coming, would leave it where he could not fail to find it, and would then seek our way home as quickly as we could, and fell out well. At the edge of the Hampstead Heath, we heard a policeman's heavy tramp, and laying the child on the pathway, we waited and watched until he saw it, as he flashed his lantern to and fro. We heard his exclamation of astonishment, and then we went away silently. By good chance, we got a cab near the Spaniards and drove to town. I cannot sleep, so I'll make this entry. but I must try to get a few hours sleep, as Van Helsing is to call me at noon. He insisted that I go with him on another expedition. September 27th. It was 2 o'clock before we found a suitable opportunity for our attempt. The funeral held at noon was all completed, and the last stragglers of the mourners had taken themselves lazily away. When looking carefully from behind a lump of ale, elder trees, when we saw the sexton lock the gate after him, we knew that we were safe till morning, did we desire it. But the professor told me that we should not want more than an hour at most. Again, I felt the horrid sense of reality of things, in which any effort of imagination seemed out of place, and I realized distinctly the pierce of the law which we were inquiring in our unhallowed work. Besides, I felt it was all so useless, outrageous as it was to open a leaden coffin to see if a woman dead nearly a week were really dead. It now seemed the height of folly to open the tomb again, when we knew from the evidence of our own eyesight that the coffin was empty. I shrugged my shoulders, however, and rested silently, for Van Helsing had a way of going on his own road, no matter how who remonstrated. He took the key, opened the vault, and again courteously motioned me to proceed. The place was not so gruesome as last night, but oh, how utterly mean looking when the sunshine streamed in. Van Helsing walked over to Lucy's coffin, and I followed. He bent over again and forked back the leaden flang, and a shock of surprise and dismay shot up to me. There lay Lucy, seemingly just as we had seen her the night before her funeral. She was, if possibly more radiantly beautiful than ever, and I could not believe that she was dead. The lips was red, nay, redder than before, and on the cheeks was a delicate bloom. "Is this a juggle?" I said. "Are you convinced now?" said the professor in a response as he spoke. He put over his hand, and in a way that made me shudder, pulling back the dead lips and shoved the white teeth. "See," went on, "they are even sharper than before. Well, this and this," and he touched one canine and the one below. "The little children can be bitten. Are you of belief now, friend John?" One more argumentative hostility woke within me. I could not accept such an overwhelming idea as he suggested, so with an attempt to argue, of which I was even at the moment ashamed, I said, "She may have been placed here since last night. Indeed, that is so, and by whom? I do not know. Someone has done it, and yet she has been dead 1 week. Most people in that time would not look so." I had no answer for this, so was silence. Van Helsing did not seem to notice my silence. At any rate, he showed neither chagrin nor triumph. He was looking intensely at the face of a dead woman, raising an eyelid and looking at the eyes, once more opening the lips to examine the teeth. Then he turned to me and said, "Here, there is one thing which is difficult, different from all records. There is something dull life that is not as the common. She was bitten by the vampire when she was in trance, sleepwalking. Oh, you start. Oh, you do not know that, friend John. But you shall know it later, and in trance could he best come to take more blood. In trance she dies, and in trance she is undead too. So in that she differs from all other, unless when the undead sleeps at home." As he spoke, he made an uncomprehensive sweep of his arm to design what to a vampire was home. Their face shone what they are, but this so sweet that was when she not undead. She go back to the nothings of the common dead. There is no mailing there. See, and so it makes hard that I must kill her in her sleep. This turns my blood cold, and I began to draw upon me that I was accepting Van Helsing's theories. But if she was already dead, then what was there of terror in the idea of killing her? He looked up at me and evidently saw the change in my face, for he said, almost joyously, "Ah, you believe now?" I answered, "Do not press me hard all at once. I am willing to accept. How will you do this bloody work?" I shall cut her head off. I shall cut off her head and fill her mouth with garlic, and I shall drive a stake through her body. This made me shudder to think of a mutilation of the body of the woman who I had loved. Yet the feeling was not so strong as I had expected. It was, in fact, beginning to shudder at the presence of being in this being, this undead, as Van Helsing called it, and to loathe it. It is possible that love is all subjective, or all objective. I wait a considerable time for Van Helsing to begin. But he stood as if wrapped in thought. Presently, as he closed the catch of his bag with a snap and said, "I have been thinking. I have made up my mind as to what is best. If I did simply follow my inclined in, I would do now, at this moment, what is to be done. But there are other things to follow, and things that are 1,000 times more difficult in that them we do not know. This is simple. She have yet no life taken, though that is of time, and to act now would to be taken danger from her forever. But then we may have to want water, and how shall we tell him of this? If you, who saw the wounds on Lucy's throat, and saw the wounds so similar to the children at the hospital, if you, who saw the coffin empty last night, and full today with a woman who have not changed, only to be more rose and more beautiful in a whole week after she died, if you know of this and know of the white figure last night that brought the child to the churchyard, and yet of your own sense you did not believe, then how then can I expect Arthur, who knows none of those, to believe? Hmm. He doubted me when I took him from her kiss when she was dying. And now he has forgiven me because in some mistaken idea I have done things to prevent him saying goodbye as he out. And he may think that it's some more mistake idea this woman was buried alive, and that in most mistakes of all we have killed her. He will then argue back that it is we mistaken ones that have killed her by our ideas, and so he will be much unhappy always. Yet he never can be sure, and that it is worst of all, and that he will sometimes think that he loved was buried alive, and that will paint his dreams with horror of what she must have suffered, and again he will think that we may be right and that his beloved was, after all, an undead. No, I told him once, and since then I have learned much, and now, since I know it's all true, 100,000 times more do I know that he must pass through the bitter waters to reach the sweet. He, poor fellow, must have 1 hour that will make the very face of heaven grow black to him. Then we can act for all good all around and send him peace. My mind is made up. Let's go, let us go. You return home for tonight to your asylum and see that well all be well. As for me, I shall spend the night here in this churchyard in my own way. Tomorrow night you will come to me at the Becklin Hotel at 10 o'clock. At the 10 of the clock. I shall send for Arthur to come, and also that so that the fine young man of America that gave his blood. Later we shall all have work to do. I come with you so as a Piccadilly and there dine, for I must be back here before the sun sets. So we locked the tomb and came away, and got over the wall for the of the churchyard, which was not much of a task, and drove back to Piccadilly. Note left by Van Helsing in his pock-mature Beckley Hotel, directed to John Seward, M.D., not delivered. Not delivered. September 27th. Friend John, I'll write this in case anything should happen. I go alone to watch in that churchyard. It pleases me that the undead Miss Lucy shall not leave tonight, and that so on marrow night may she be more eager. Therefore I shall fix some things she like not, garlic and a crucifix, and so seal up the door of the tomb. She is young as undead and will heed. Moreover, they are only to prevent her coming out. They may not prevail on her wanting to get in, for then the undead is desperate and must find the line of least resistance, whatever more it shall may be. I shall be at hand all the night from sunset till after sunrise, and if there be aught that may be I shall learn it, for Miss Lucy or from her. I have no fear, but that other than whom is aware that she is undead. He have not the power to seek her tomb and find shelter. He is cunning, as I know from Mr. Jonathan and from the way that all along he was fooled us when he played with us from Miss Lucy's life, and we lost. In many ways, the undead are strong. He have always the strength in his hand of 20 men. Even we four who gave our strength to Miss Lucy is also uh, Lucy is also is all to him. Beside, he can summon his wolf, and I know not what. So if it be that he came 30th on his night, he shall find me, but none other shall, until it's too late. But it may be that he will not attempt the place. There is no reason why he should. This his hunting grounds is more full of game than the churchyard where the undead women sleep, and one old man watch. Therefore I shall write this in case. Take the papers that are with this, the diary of Hawker and the rest, and read them, and then find this great undead, and cut off his head, and burn his heart, or drive a stake through it, so that the world may rest from him. If it be so, farewell, Van Helsing. Dr. Seward's Diary, September 28th. It is wonderful what a good night's sleep will do for one. Yesterday, I was almost willing to accept Van Helsing's monstrous ideas, but now they seem to start out lurid before me as outrageous on our common sense. I have no doubt that he believed it all. I wonder if his mind can have become in any way unhinged. Surely there must be some rational explanation of all these mysterious things. Is it possible that Professor can have done it himself? He is so abnormally clever that if he went off his head, he could carry out his intent with regards to some fixed ideas in a wonderful way. I am loaded to think it, and indeed it would be almost a marvel as the others to find that Van Helsing was mad. But anyhow I shall watch him carefully. I may get some light on the mystery. September 29th. Last night, at a little before 10 o'clock, Arthur and Quincy came into Van Helsing's room. He told us all what had happened to us to do, but especially addressing himself to Arthur, as if all our wills were centered in his. He began by saying that he had hoped we could all come with him too, for, he said, there is a grave duty to be done there, and you were doubtless surprised at my letter. The square was indirectly addressed to Lord Godalming. I was. It rather upset me for a bit. There have been so much trouble around my house of late that I could do without any more. I have been curious too as to what you mean. Quincy and I talked it over, but the more we talked, the more puzzled we got. Till now, I have to say for myself that I'm about up the tree as to any meaning about anything. Mhm. Me too, said Quincy Morris laconically. Oh, said the professor, then you are nearly the beginning, both of you. Then friend John here, who has to go a long way back before he can even get to as far to begin. It was evident that he that he recognized my return to my old doubting frame of mind without me saying a word. Then turning to the other men, he said with intense gravity, I want your permission to do what I think good this night. It, it is, I know, much to ask. Oh, you know what it is I propose to do, you will know, and only then how much. Therefore, may I ask that you promise me in the dark, so that afterwards, though you may be angry with me for a time, I must not disguise for myself the possibility that such may be. You shall not blame yourself for anything. That's frank, anyhow, broke in Quincy. I'll answer for the professor. I don't quite see his drift, but I swear he's honest and a good, and that's good enough for me. Thank you, sir, said Van Helsing proudly. I have done myself the honors of counting you one trusting friend, and such endorsement is dear to me. He held out a hand, which Quincy took. Then Arthur spoke out. Dr. Van Helsing, I don't quite like to buy a pig in a poke, as they say in Scotland. And if there be anything in which my honour as a gentleman or my faith as a Christian is concerned, I cannot make such a promise. If you can assure me that what you indeed intend to do does not violate neither of those two, then I give my consent at once, though for the life of me I cannot understand what you are driven at. I accept your limitations, said Dr. Van Helsing, and all I ask for you is that if you feel it necessary to condemn any act of mine, you will first consider it well and be satisfied that it does not violate your reservations. Agreed, said Arthur. That is only fair. And now that the purples are over, may I ask what it is we are to do? I want you to come with me and come in secret to the churchyard at Kingstead. Arthur's face fell as he said in an amazed sort of way, where poor Lucy is buried. Professor bowed. Arthur went on, and when there, to enter the tomb. Arthur stood up. Professor, are you in earnest? Or is this some monstrous joke? Pardon me. I see that you are in earnest. He sat down again. But I could see. Hello, Soy. Welcome in. And I could see that he sat firmly and proudly, as one who is in his dignity. There was silence until he asked again, and when in the tomb, to open the coffin. This is too much, he said, angrily rising again. I am willing to be patient in all things that are reasonable, but in this desecration of the grave of one who he fairly choked with indignation. The professor looked pityingly at him. If I could spare you one pang, my poor friend, he said, God knows I would, but this night our feet must tread in thorny paths, or later and forever the feet you love must walk in paths of flame. Arthur looked up with a set white face and said, Take care, sir, take care. Would it not be well to hear what I have to say? Said Van Helsing, and then you will at least know the limits of my purpose. Shall I go now? Shall I go on? That is fair enough, broke in Morris. After a pause, Van Helsing went on, evidently with an effort. Miss Lucy is dead. Is it not so? Yes. Then there can be no wrong to her. But if she is be not dead. Arthur jumped on his feet. Good God, he cried. What do you mean? Has there been any mistakes? Has she been buried alive? He groaned in anguish, and not even hope could soften. I did not say she was alive, my child. I did not think it. I go no further to say than to say that she might be undead. Undead? Not alive? What do you mean? Is this all a nightmare, or what is it? There are mysteries which men can only guess at, which age by age they may solve only in part. Believe me, we are now on the verge of one. But I have not done. May I cut off the head of dead Miss Lucy? Heaven and earth, no! Cried Arthur in a storm of passion. Not for the wild world will I consent to any mutilation of her dead body. Mr. Van Helsing, you try me too far. What have I done to you that you should torture me so? What did the poor sweet girl do you should want to cast such dishonor on her grave? Are you mad that you speak of such thing, or am I mad to listen to them? Don't dare think more of such desecration. I shall not give my consent to anything you do. I have a duty to do it in protecting her grave from outrage, and by God I shall do it. Van Helsing rose up from where he had all this time been seated and said, gravely and sternly, My lord Godalming, I too have a duty to do, and a duty to others, a duty to you, and a duty to the dead, and by God I shall do it. All I ask you now is that you come with me, that you look and listen, and if when later I make the same request, you do not be more eager for its fulfillment even than I am now. Then I shall do my duty, whatever it may seem to me, and then, to follow your lordship's wishes, I shall hold myself at your disposal to render an account to you. When and where you will. His voice broke a little, and went on with a voice full of pity. But I beseech you, do not go forth in anger with me, in a long life of acts which were often not pleasant to do, and which sometimes did wrench my heart. I have never had so heavy a task as now. Believe me that if the time comes for you to change your mind towards me, one look from you will wipe away all this so sad hour. For I would do what a man can do to save you from sorrow. Just think. For why should I give myself so much labor and so much sorrow? And so much of sorrow. I have come here from my own land to do what I can for good, at the first to please my friend John, and then to help a sweet young lady whom too I come to love. For her I am ashamed to say so much, but I say in it in kindness. I gave what you gave, the blood of my veins. I gave it. I who was not like you, her lover, but only her uh, physician, or doctor, and her friend. I gave her my night and days before death and after death, and if my death can do her good even now, then she is the dead undead. She shall have it freely, he said, with a very grave, sweet pride, and Arthur was much affected by it. He took the old man's hand and said in a broken voice, "Oh, it is hard to think of it, and I cannot understand, but at least I'll go with you and wait." And this ends chapter 15. And I read it way faster. This time I managed to read it in 45 minutes. I'm speeding through these chapters. But now, since I finished this 15th chapter, also hi cat, I will now take a break for, well, it's a little bit more than less than 2 hours now, so let's see. Be quiet, cat. Bonk. So that will be, I think it is a total of 21 chapters, and I'm just now on chapter 16. And I managed to read 2 chapters in, well, almost 2 hours. Wait a minute. Yeah. Damn it. So I wasn't as fast as I thought. Now that I think about it. Yeah, I did actually read. Yeah. So 2 chapter 14 and 15. Oh no, I'm gonna actually eat because I'm really hungry. I usually eat like at first before stream, like the first stream, I eat something light, like a little snack or something, and then in between I eat like a fuller meal, and then I read again, And then it's party, hey, a party, 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 It's Friday. So in roughly 1.5 hours from now, I'm gonna continue streaming. I know, right? So 1.5 hours from now, I am gonna continue streaming, and it's gonna be chapter 16. Hell yeah! So yeah, I'm excited. So hopefully, yeah. Then next time I'm gonna read next week. It's gonna be starting on chapter 18, unless I feel like continue reading like a little bit more, Like last time I actually read an extra chapter. So we shall see how I feel. But I definitely felt like I could read more fluently. Obviously, in the beginning, I, was rambling a little bit. But yeah, I see you guys in 1.5 hours. And I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys don't join, like that you enjoyed your weekend. Sounds nice. Thank you so much. Well, in the meantime, you guys enjoy yourself, and I will notify when I get online again. Take care, my little hatchlings, and take care. Bye bye.